Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Daily News on the Toon Review YouTube channel. Today, I am joined by Billy, and we're just going to go through the main talking points from Eddie Howe's press conference, of course, which was earlier on this morning. Everybody anticipating what he was going to say about Tonali. Turns out not a lot, just what we already know, basically what came from the statement from Newcastle United. But as usual, guys, if you do enjoy today's video, please hit the like button. Very important for the channel. And of course, if you're new to the channel and like what you see, please do subscribe. It is free to do so. Come and join this fantastic community by hitting the subscribe button. And then, of course, the notification bell, which will let you know when we schedule any live shows or we record anything such as this one today. Right, let's get into it. Billy, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
I think everybody was looking forward to the press conference today, but it seems like, you know, Eddie's just been in normal self, playing down all the major news, staying very calm about all the situation.
Yeah, I was expecting a kind of pre thing from the press people that they weren't allowed to be asking about Tonali, and it was purely a press conference about tomorrow's game. However, they allowed him to ask questions, about Tonali, and Eddie straight back them back. Really, everything was down to a human level. Didn't really get involved in, you know, the business side of it and what have you. And and the ultimate professional at press conferences, isn't he? He wasn't flustered at all and answered everything with a straight bat.
Very much a football man. We'll start on what he said about Tonali, of course. He said he's had a very, very difficult couple of weeks and has been dealing with it with a lot. From what I can see, he's handling himself really well and dealing with his emotions strongly, but I'll have to make a call. I have to bring it back to football and what he's delivering on the pitch to try and make the best decision for the team. For me, the most important part of this whole incident is Sandro's welfare. We feel as a football club straight away it was to throw our arms around him and protect him, to give him the love and support he needs to find solutions to the problems he has. He's trained twice this week with us and he's very much available for selection. I don't think he's going to play, Billy. The fact that he's only trained twice as well says to me that, obviously Eddie realizes that he's got a hell of a lot on his plate. But really, it was a response that I thought would come by, him just stating that the club has thrown their arms around him and protecting him.
Yeah, as I say, it was a professional response, wasn't it? It was the response from a human level rather than a footballing one. Throwing their arms around him, taking him into the bosom of the club. I think he'll be on the bench tomorrow, if I'm perfectly honest. I think they may give him 10 minutes at the end of the game, just so you can see the love and the support from the fans, which he's bound to get. He's going through a difficult time. We've kind of looked at it through business side of things, haven't we? And there's been a bit of anger in that from many of us, me included. And Eddie Howe's obviously taken the sting out of that with the human level out of it. And it's hard to sometimes think of that when you're talking about your own football club. I think he'll be on the bench tomorrow. I think he may get 10 minutes at the end of the game. And it's an important time for him, really, just to know that the fans are behind him. And I guess the fans will get behind him.
Yeah, I mean, as a manager, he's got to look at the football side more than anything. He is Tonali's manager, so he is obviously going to be very protective of his players. He's obviously not going to talk about what's going on or what Tonali's going through personally. I think that's a very private thing. But obviously, he can speak on behalf of the football club and say, look, we have to protect him. He's a Newcastle United player. It's the fact that he's only trained twice this week would say to me that he's not going to start. You see he's going to possibly get on the bench. Maybe he just needs to hear those fans chant his name, which they probably will, even if he's not involved tomorrow. If he's in the stadium watching the game, I could understand Newcastle United fans getting behind him. I think there's more frustration, I think, at the way the transfer went than Tonali himself. I think it's more the fact that, we spent so much money on Tonali, but obviously Eddie's not going to be asked that because that is for a higher level to deal with.
Yeah, that's not his role in the club at all, is it? That's down to Dan Ashworth and people in the background who deal with the transfers. Okay, Eddie will be involved in the scouting and type of player they want. But at the end of the day, the whole business of transfers and signings and contracts and stuff, I don't think falls into Eddie's role at all. So he can only really answer it from a football point of view. However, today he did kind of get involved with the human side of it and how, we also saw that with the Bruno Guimaraes comments about his dad and things and signing a new contract. So, yeah, he's obviously a fantastic manager to work for, isn't he? He takes everyone under his arm. and holds them in. You know, he protects everyone, and he's doing the same now with Sandro.
I mean, the way he says about give him the love and support that he needs to find solutions to the problems. So obviously that's identifying that maybe the gambling, you know, the addiction, the club will help him and put him onto the right people. So we'll see what happens with it. But Eddie says Tonali is very much available for the game. So we will know where he stands come, of course, 2:00 tomorrow afternoon. Now, on the game tomorrow, we're talking about Crystal Palace, Billy. He says they're a very, very difficult team to play against and score against this year. Defensively, they've been very good, and they have dangerous players that can hurt you on transitions. We can't underestimate the challenge. All our focus is on our training and our preparation for the game. So what that tells me is, Billy, he understands the last couple of games we've had against Palace, especially at St. James's Park. And you mentioned on the show last night the low block and how we found it difficult in the past to get around that. So very much similar to what Eddie's thinking there. It's going to be very difficult to break them down.
Yeah, well, he actually commented and said that the games last year, all three were 0-0, of course, and all three were interesting. He said, but not obviously from the neutral point of view, people watching the game, but for me as a football man, I found them all very interesting, and it's down to him to kind of work ways of breaking that kind of low block down.
Yeah,
we've got players in the side now that can do that. I think that Anthony Gordon, his pace, which we didn't really have last year, will help to do that. And I'm sure that's where he's going to go with it to try and break down Crystal Palace. But as always, it was all about what we do, and rather than disrespecting the opposition, it is very much on the front foot as far as we're concerned.
He never does that, does he? I mean, no matter how he may feel about certain clubs, he never seems to do that in his press conferences. And I think, when he's talking about dangerous players that can hurt you on transitions, I think those players are missing tomorrow. But obviously, he's identifying that they could still put somebody in who may be able to do that. But I think the fact that two major players may be missing tomorrow for Palace who can hurt us in transitions might soften the blow a little bit. But again, he won't underestimate Palace at all. That's just the kind of man he is. It doesn't matter who we play against. He just will not underestimate anybody that turns up to St. James's Park. Now, moving on to Alexander Isak. This is an interesting one, Billy. He hasn't trained with us at all, said Eddie. So we're going to leave it late to see if he's fit and available. Now, going off what we spoke about on the preview show last night, I don't think any of us thought that Isak would start anyway with Dortmund on Wednesday, looking ahead. And the fact that he hasn't trained, I don't think he want take any chances with him and probably put him on the bench.
Yeah, I'd say that the very most he can expect is a bench spot, given that the fact he'd taken off slightly prematurely against West Ham, but he did play virtually the full 90 minutes. Yeah. Since then, he's been away with Sweden, hasn't kind of trained with them because he was sent straight back virtually. Yeah. So you're looking at 2 weeks without training. So is he match fit? Probably not. Maybe another one that will get 10, 15 minutes at the end of the game just to get his legs in order.
I mean, with the problems that we've had with the strikers, this season, with little niggles here and there, does that maybe point to Eddie looking at another striker in January?
I guess it would, yeah. I think so. I think it's one area of the pitch where we are lacking. We had Chris Wood last year, of course, got rid of him, didn't really replace him. People are saying that Anthony Gordon can play up front. You take him, put him up front, that leaves us kind of without that pace on the left-hand side. So, yeah, I think
you'd still rather have an out-and-out striker than you.
Yeah, of course
I think they'd be looking at them. But he moved on to Joe Linton. Now, what he said about Joe Linton is, we hope he'll be back this weekend. He's trained well and looked good. He's done a lot of hard work, so I'm confident as I sit here now that he's going to be okay. And hopefully he'll return to the form we know he can produce. A huge player for us. Now, I don't know about you, Billy, but that gives me the indication that Joe Linton may start the game. Obviously, with the situation with Tonali, we may expect Bruno, Longstaff, and Joe Linton back in that middle three. Certainly, from what he said there, he's confident he's going to be fit again. And I guess lessons have been learned from when he brought him on last time. Of course, he wasn't fully fit at all. This is different. He's had a big rest as Joe Linton and an opportunity now to come back and get back to the form, as Eddie said there, that we know he can produce.
Yeah, I think he'll start. We all picked Elliot Anderson to start yesterday in our preview show, but with the words of Eddie Howe today saying that we think he'll be ready this weekend, I think it's a no-brainer really. If he's fit and ready to go, then you play him. It's as simple as that.
I mean, a lot of people may argue and say, well, Anderson's done nothing to deserve to be dropped. So, is that a kick in the teeth to young Elliott if Joe Linton comes back fit and then just walks straight back into his place in the team? Or does he put Joe Linton on the bench, which gives Elliott another opportunity to show what he can do?
I don't think so. I think Eddie Anderson's he's a young player. He knows that he's a fringe player in that first team that will play as and when needed with injuries. And now Joe Linton's fit. He's one of the first names on the team sheet for me. So
I'd agree. I agree. I mean, obviously, Joe Linton's my favourite player. I want him in the team. I think due to his meteoric rise at Newcastle United from where he's come from, to be one of those players that is suddenly fit, and you think, right, he's one of the first names on the team sheet, because it's not just what he can do, driving us forward. It's winning the ball. It's his physicality. Which may be needed tomorrow against Palace because of their stubborn way that they play, just to break them down. Yeah,
I agree. They've got a very physical middle of the park, haven't they? The likes of Will Hughes likes to put the foot in. Jeffrey Schlupp's got a bit of pace, but he also likes to put his foot in. Ducouré, his fit's another one like that. So, they're very physical side in the middle of the park for Palace, and I think Joe Linton's needed to combat that.
Yep. I agree. So hopefully Big Joe is back tomorrow in the lineup. Now, on Sven Botman, he didn't say a lot, Billy, to be honest, which kind of worried me a little bit. I don't know about you. All he said was Sven is improving and the 2 weeks have been good for him. Very bland on Sven Botman, which doesn't indicate to me that he's fit to go, unless he's just basically doing an Eddie and just keeping it till the last minute so we see the team sheet and suddenly Botman's on it. But very strange.
Yeah, just very non-committal, wasn't it? It was no time line of when he's back to play, if he's close or not to play in. It's just the fact that he said the 2 weeks have been good for him.
Which he normally tells us, doesn't he? He does say he's very close, or he's not very close, or he's a couple of weeks. Really strange. And, I was hoping for a bit more news on Sven Botman today, to be honest. But it hasn't happened.
I mean, what the injury was? What was his spine or was it a knee? We're not really sure what the injury is, are we? So we're really in the dark about Botman. It's quite worrying because in the past, when it's been like this, they tend to be out for longer than what you expect. And to be honest, I think if he's not playing tomorrow or Wednesday, I think that's the case. It is longer than what we expect. We were kind of led to believe that it wasn't a massive injury, and yet a month or so down the line, he's still not playing.
Which is frustrating because this has happened before when we've been told a couple of weeks and then suddenly it turns into a month or 2 months. But listen, he might be just playing it down, playing it calm, as Eddie does in press conferences. And then, he may be on the bench tomorrow or he'll be holding them back for the Dortmund game. Again, we just have to wait and see. But he's very good at this sort of thing, is Eddie Howe. Now, on Joe Willock, a lot was wanting to be heard about Joe Willock because of the situation he's had. I want him back, but we have to do it sensibly, which I think is a good thing. He's trained this week for the first time with the group, but it's probably a bit early for him to be involved in the matchday squad. But he's getting closer. He's a huge player for us. So probably not involved tomorrow, Billy. If at all, I think maybe the bench, but I don't think he's going to play any part. Even if he was on the bench, which says to me, why put him there in the first place if he's not going to play any part in the game? Maybe on the bench against Dortmund, but he's certainly not going to rush Joe Willock back. We know what he thinks of Willock, and rushing him back would be completely wrong, which Eddie doesn't do.
Well, he's been out for such a long time, hasn't he? It was the end of last season when he got injured.
Yep.
So he's had no pre-season where the players get themselves conditioned fitness-wise. None of that. No pre-season games, not match fit in the slightest. He's going to have to build himself up. I imagine he'll play an under-21s game as an overage player first before we see him playing in the first team squad. Yeah, and I think even that could be 2 weeks away or so. It's a case of getting his match fitness up and his fitness in his legs because he's not had any, has he?
Absolutely. I mean, you think of the injury he's had. When players get sort of hamstring injuries like this, it always plays on your mind. And then, of course, he had a setback with another injury. So he's going to have that in the back of his mind as well. So it's the psychological side of it as well when you come back from an injury like this. But he's a massive player for us and can make such a difference. And it's an old cliche, but it's like a new signing, I guess, coming in this season. The time he's been out gives us a different option in midfield or down the left.
Yeah, he's got to be coaxed back into it. There's no point in rushing him. I mean, Steve Bruce would have had him playing tomorrow. You can guarantee it.
Absolutely,
you know, because he is such an important part of the squad. But you can't just rush a player of that ilk back, especially with the injury he's had, an Achilles injury, which is one down to muscle pressure as well, pushing off your feet, and then his hamstring as well, kind of similar injury, although further up the leg. You know, it's something that you can't rush back. You've got to get yourself right first. It's been a long time since we've seen Joe Willock, so we're all dying to see him. But we'd hate to see him come back too soon and get himself injured and be out for another 3 months.
Break down again, yeah.
You've got to be patient. You've got to be patient with him, and I don't think now's the time. He's got to get some fitness in his legs, pre-season if you like, and some game time in his legs, whether it be for the under 21s or whatever. But yeah, I won't see him playing the first team for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. I wouldn't have thought.
I mean, the thing is as well, you know, you look at it's not so much a necessity to rush him back now because Joe Linton's fit again and hopefully can stay fit. Obviously, the situation with Tonali, we'll see what happens with that. But also, Lewis Miley unavailable. And this is what he said on Lewis Miley. He says he's got glandular fever. So he's currently resting from that. He's probably a couple of weeks into 4 weeks of lower physical exertion. But then hopefully we can build him up. It's a blow for us and him because he's a real talent. Now, obviously, you know, this has come out the blue today. Nobody knew about this glandular fever with Lewis Miley, and it's a kick in the teeth, really, because, you know, certainly with the the Carabao Cup game at Old Trafford coming up in a couple of weeks, he was probably going to be involved in that. I think that might be a bit soon for him now because Eddie's saying there he's probably halfway through, 2 or 4 weeks of rest and just light training. So another blow for us in midfield.
It is, and with a potential incoming ban for Tonali, he's a player that will probably get more minutes in the side too. So yeah, there's lots of little question marks about Lewis Miley and can he kind of get himself ready for the Man United game? I don't think he can. I agree with you. I think that's going to be a week too soon for him. The other also the problem I see in the future is Bruno's suspension, which is imminent. I would say
absolutely, yeah.
He's only one yellow card away, and if he gets himself booked tomorrow. Potential ban for Tonali, who's playing in the 6 against Wolves next week. It's
very sort of head scratching, isn't it? Because I think what is the likelihood of Bruno getting booked tomorrow? I'd say very likely. He's a bit like Anthony Gordon, but you don't want to take that away. You don't want to take that away from the players. That little bit of aggression, that little bit of nastiness, if you like. And Bruno has shown it over the last couple of games how he's very stubborn on the pitch as well. He can do silly things which lead to bookings, as can Anthony Gordon. But I don't think you would ever want, as Eddie Howe would, to take that away from the players. So, we wish Miley all the best. And glandular fever isn't nice. It totally wipes you of all energy. So, really, really tough for the kid. But we hope he's back sooner rather than later as well. But that's it, guys. That is the press conference reaction. Some very interesting talking points from Eddie there. Please do leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought about what Eddie had to say this morning. Were you a little confused about what he had to say about Sven Botman? Because he hasn't really told us anything about him when we were expecting him to be back for the game, of course. Was it the kind of answer that you'd expect with Tonali and all the other things on Joe Willock and Joe Linton, etc.? Let us know in the comments below what you thought. But as usual, guys, please do give it the thumbs up if you have enjoyed the show today, and also hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Come and be part of an incredible community on the Toon Review, and hit the notification bell as well, which will let you know when we schedule our live shows or we upload any videos such as this. The link for the Football Content Awards is still there, pinned at the top of the description. Please keep voting for us. The voting ends for that. I think it's this weekend. I'll double check, but I think it's this weekend. So we need the votes now more than ever. And of course, if you have little ones who are interested in learning, click on the top link there, which is Susan's channel, the Little Learners Hub as well. If you've got any young family, it is a brilliant, brilliant channel for them to learn. So please give it a subscribe. Right, if you're watching this on Friday afternoon, don't forget tonight at 7 p.m, we will be back with Face the Lads. Your opportunity to come on, speak to me and Billy and Alex, Come and say what you want. I have a feeling it might be a bit of a spicy show, given what's happened with Tonali this week. But the floor is yours, basically. You come on, you pick the subject you want to talk about, spend 5-6 minutes with us, and have your individual time and see what you've got to say about Newcastle United. So very much looking forward to that. 7 p.m. The link will be pinned in the live chat round about 10 minutes before the show goes live. But in the meantime, guys, from me and Billy, enjoy the rest of your Friday, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Goodbye.